Today I'm going to show you how to crochet these beautiful little wheat stalks to create a fun fall applique in crochet. To begin crocheting the applique, we're going to start by crocheting one of the stems. You're going to want to take your yarn, which I'm using a worsted weight yarn. Today I'm using some Comfort Yarn by Baracco. It's worsted weight, and I'm using a G crochet hook. But to begin, you're actually going to start by figuring out how long you want your stem to be. So I'm just going to take one of these stems as an example, and I'm going to take the beginning piece of yarn and measure it so it's 1, 2, 3, 4 times the length of the stem, and then tie your slip knot to begin. So I now have my slip knot that has been tied, again with 4 times the length of yarn at the beginning here. Now grab your hook and insert your hook, and we're going to crochet a basic cord. So we're going to begin by chaining 1. Then we're going to take our beginning yarn, which is this one right here, and we're going to wrap it over the crochet hook. And then we're going to take our working yarn, which is being held in that hand, yarn over and pull through both loops on the hook. Take your beginning yarn, this one that's hanging, wrap it over your hook, and then take your working yarn and pull through both loops on your hook. See, we're just going to kind of create some stitches going up. Okay, zooming in a little bit here. Again, you're going to take your beginning yarn, wrap it over your hook from front to back, then take your working yarn, yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. Yarn over with a beginning yarn, working yarn through both. So you're basically creating a chain, but also adding a loop from your beginning piece of thread. And you're just going to continue to work this until the length of your stem has been reached. On my samples that I showed you earlier, they were about 4 inches long. So I'm going to come back when I have this stem the length that I want. Okay, so the stem of my wheat stalk has been created. Now I'm going to create a loop on the end of this beginning cord that I have crocheted. Just drop your beginning tail. This is the tail of yarn that was used at the beginning, and we're not going to worry about that right now. So you're going to start now, chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and now you're going to slip stitch in the side of that last cord stitch, simple cord. So if you look at the stitch, here it is, and you're just going to insert your hook right there through the center of it. Just kind of push that through, and then slip stitch. It's kind of hard to see, but now there is a little loop at the very tip of your stem here. Okay, so the loop has been created. You're going to just kind of turn your work over, and you're going to slip stitch back into that loop there. So just put your hook through and slip stitch. Once you slip stitch through it, it's a little bit easier to see. Now you're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and create another loop on top by slip stitching back into that loop. So now you have your first loop created, and then a second loop on top created, if you can see those there. Okay, now to create the head of the wheat stalk, you're going to chain 1 a little bit loose and turn your work. Now you're going to work into the first loop, so this lower loop here, for the first step, and we're going to crochet a V puff stitch. So yarn over, insert your hook into that first loop, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert into that same loop and pull up a loop, yarn over, insert into that same loop and pull up a loop. You now have, looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 7 loops on your hook. So now you've completed the first half of your V puff stitch. Now you're going to chain 2, and then you're going to work on the other side. So yarn over, insert your hook through the loop, pull up a loop, repeat that 2 more times. So yarn over, insert in that same loop, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert into that same loop, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 7 loops on your hook. So now you have your first V stitch has been completed. Now while crocheting that V stitch, you now have another chain loop right here, but right below it is that second chain loop. So I can kind of loop this through so you can see it. So there's the second loop. You worked into the first loop. Here's the second loop, and then the third loop is the one you just created. Now to create the head of the wheat, we're going to just nestle these V puffs on top of one another. So chain 1, turn your work, and now you're going to skip the top loop, and you're going to go into this second loop that you can see right here. Right here. And we're going to work a V puff right there. Okay, so for the next V puff, you can see we went into this first loop, and here's that second loop. And then here is the third loop. We're going to go into the second loop. So yarn over, insert into that second loop, pull up a loop, yarn over, and you're always going to work this stitch in that same loop. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up another loop, 7 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 7 loops, chain 2, and now work the other side of that V puff, working into that same loop. So insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 7 loops on your hook, and chain 1 to turn. You can kind of see you've got 2 V puffs that are nestled into each other now. Okay, so we've turned our work, and now it's a little tricky to find that next loop down here. But if you spread that V puff apart, you can typically just kind of pull that up and put your hook right in there. And you can see it right now. So yarn over, insert your hook. We're going to work another V puff in the next, again, it's that second loop down. So there's 1, 2, 3, yarn over, pull through all 7 loops on your hook, chain 2, and work into that same loop again. There's 1, 2, 3, yarn over, pull through all 7 loops on your hook, chain 1, and turn. And turn. And this time you're going to work just a single puff and not a V stitch puff in the top. So you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into that lower loop, pull up a loop. You're going to repeat this 3 more times for a total of 4 times. Yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, and then 1 more, yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all loops on your hook. Okay, so now the final puff stitch has been completed. We're going to have you chain 1, and then you're going to slip stitch just in the side of this turning chain down here to finish off. Okay, and then you can just cut this yarn and use it to sew your piece of wheat onto your crochet piece. This is your beginning tail of yarn. I typically would just secure it with a knot on the back side, and then you can weave it in the ends. You can either weave it in down through the stem, or you can weave it in up through these puff stitches, and either way it's nice and hidden. So that is how you make a crocheted wheat stalk.